Welcome to Ask Us Anything, which for today is Ask Me Anything. So excited about this segment, getting to work with Katie on responding to some of your questions and also, getting to do some work solo sometimes. I'm flying solo today because Katie is flying all over the country to do some work. And I'm really delighted to talk about what we're going to talk about, which is truly all about boundaries. I'm also going to cough from time to time because I'm getting over pneumonia and these lungs, they're on their way. They're not there yet. We'll see if that gets edited out. Might not. Maybe because we just want things to be real. All right, let's get into it. Here's the question. Dear Emily and Katie, my husband and I both work from home in a one-bedroom apartment. Whenever one of us is having a bad day, it seems inevitable that the other person will too, due to the sheer proximity. How do we set healthy boundaries while also being there for each other when one of us needs it? This is one of those questions I'm really going to focus on the person asking because I don't know if the other person is bought into, am I right? We need to set some boundaries. I'm being affected. You're being affected. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to reframe a little bit here. How do you set healthy boundaries? My experience is when one person in a relationship starts behaving differently or invites change, and I know, right? I don't want to be the person to do that. Why am I always the person to do that? You have a role. And, in collaboration, it takes someone has to say, I love you first, in the best case scenario. Someone has to say, I think I need a few things. Can we sit down and collaborate? I need your help. Asking for help is a very different way to go about, especially because I actually don't know if this is a female identifying person. It just says my husband and I assume, right? Just noticing my own assumptions. The female nag, the always coming with an issue, and then, the traditional male gender role of like, I can never do anything right. So that sets the stage for how do I set healthy boundaries while also being there for my husband? And then I think your work on this, and I'm going to get into like 4 steps on this, can invite and inspire your husband, whom you clearly care about, to do the same, right? He likely has needs to express too. So the first thing I want to say is step 1. This isn't easy. You love this person. Maybe you don't like them all the time, but you love them, right? You're cohabitating, you're building a life together. So you will be affected. And I think there's a misnomer that we need to be like the cool girl or the cool dude. Like, I'm chill, man. You do you, I'll do me, and there it will be. And I think that's great if it works for you. I don't think it's working for you, right? That's where the boundary request comes in, the need request comes in. But I just want to say, like, allow it to affect you. There's nothing wrong with you that it affects you. You love this person. Being affected and impacted by other people is beautiful. I hope that we always remain impacted and affected. And then we can take some action to make things even better. So that's the first thing, is this isn't easy. You're affected. So that just accepting that, and accepting that it's because proximity, And it's because you love this person and they matter to you and you matter to you. So I think what I would say next is really checking in. I want to honor that maybe this person needs something. Having a bad day. So I want to acknowledge kind of the second part of the question, which is like, how do I be there for him? So good work. That's an empathic way to think about, okay, benefit of the doubt. We love that as self-aware leaders. This person seems to be, this man I love is struggling. So how can I help him? What I want to encourage you to do is to empower him to tell you a little bit about what would be helpful. When someone, I don't know what his bad days are like. When I have a bad day, I do need space, but I'm learning in my own relationship, I also need closeness. Part of what comes up for me is like having a bad day is unattractive. It's undesirable. This enculturation as a woman who identifies as female, right? That no bad days, right? I mean, who's going to pay attention if I'm angry or frustrated, lonely, sad, tired, hungry, hangry? So asking your partner after you've acknowledged that you love them and that this isn't easy, extending the question of like, what would be helpful to you? Good to know, right? Inviting them into that collaborative, helpful space. And then if you're available to do that, do it. And then move on, right? So instead of expressing that anxious sort of attachment where we're attending all the time, appreciating that I think both of you are adults, allowing him to have his experience after you've said, I see you, man. You're not doing so great today. How can I be helpful? You want me to be here? You want me to be far? Oh, you want me to be here? Well, actually, and this is step 3, for me today, I really need to go to this coffee shop where I know I'm the most creative and spend a couple hours there. But when I come back, I'd love to be with you. Is that okay? Can we wait? And that's a negotiation, of course, but your boundary, that might feel harsh. If you're anything like me, you're like, wait a minute, someone's suffering. Let me drop everything. Let me drop my boundaries that I know that I need. And look, boundaries, lots of talk about it. Some are diffuse, some are really solid. There's a lot of variability in boundaries. And I think it's a good idea to remain flexible on things that don't immediately affect your safety. But for someone like you, this is just my thought, I would lead with protecting them and setting them versus making them diffuse and flexible. So just a thought, but your boundary may feel hard or harsh or, petty or selfish. It gets easier. Your husband might be hurt that you need that space, and you need it because you've done some work to know what your values are, what your strengths are, your skills, abilities, your needs. You know that to show up best for him, you need that time at the coffee shop. It's just what you need. Are you always going to get it? Obviously not. Life is life. So you'll decide in that moment, this is what, okay, got it. I'm going to go do this and then I'm going to come back. And I'll tell you what, if he's hurt, that's okay. That's a connection point. We're never trying to hurt people, but remember, this gets easier. That's step 4. It gets easier the more you do it. Your husband gets to know you and what you need, which can change and evolve. Isn't that the beauty of relationships? You get to know what his bad days are like, how you can participate in that, and also what's his stuff to own. So the ideal is you're doing this, thinking, reacting, engaging, and so is he. So it's not easy. You love this person, you live with this person. But acknowledging like being affected by people is part of what makes humanity a shared experience. common humanity is a real thing. Asking your partner, acknowledging this bad day, like, especially if you're new to this, like, what's helpful, listening, and then being clear on what you need and how those two needs can come together, acknowledging that there will be feelings involved. Like I said, selfish, I feel selfish, he's hurt, he's offended, he's shutting down. You don't own that, right? And it doesn't mean things have imploded. It means you have another opportunity to connect and repair. And you guys, I know you can do it because you're living in a 1-bedroom apartment. I'm sure you repair all the time. And then finally, just knowing that it gets easier. So practice. This is a practice. It is worth it for the discomfort. And it is worth it for the discomfort because, look, boundaries are something you set up because they matter to you. And what matters to you matters. It doesn't mean, we're not going to ever negotiate them or be diffuse, but it matters in the moment, and it matters for the ongoing relationship that you two are experiencing. So there you go. I hope that's helpful. It's helpful for me to talk through. I'll just say this, before we end, I am grappling myself with what if the things that I'm feeling and the things that I need might hurt someone else. And I've always taken the road of, well, then you just don't do it. And I think in my closest relationships now, I have to be willing to express the full range of my emotions, not with the intent to hurt, but appreciating that if the impact is hurt, that we can then talk that through. And those are the relationships that I want around me. Do I? No, I do. All right. Reminder to submit questions. We want to hear from you. These questions are so good. I'm going to cough again. So good. At who'smissingpodcast.com/ask us anything. You can DM us on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. Look, people seem to enjoy a little bit of advice. And so we'd love to hear if it helped you. So let us know what helped, what's helpful. And we will see you next time.